Hello, everyone. Today I had the pleasure of talking with Jordan Stanley, a local comedian who will be performing at the Dothan Opera House very soon. We had a wonderful conversation talking about her set, how it's developed over time. She runs a clean set, and so the whole family can be invited to her performance. A lot of her performances made up of the bits that she's compiled over the lifetime of experiences she was able to look at through the lens of the humor that God gives us all so that this life is bearable, and not only just bearable but enjoyable. Anyway, we had a wonderful conversation. I hope you'll join us for this journey. Thank you for coming and joining us here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
This is fantastic.
Yeah.
You're going to be performing at the Dothan Opera House
Yes,
soon.
on June 13th. Like less than a month now. One
Okay.
day less than a month. What would that be, like 29 days? I don't know. But
Okay.
yeah, soon.
So is that your first time doing that?
So I have Darcy Lynn is like I don't know if you've ever heard of her. She won America's Got Talent. She's a puppeteer.
Okay.
And she came to the Opera House in January, and she's really big, but she requires clean comedians, which is what I am.
Okay.
And so they invited me to come open for her, which
That's
was
tough. That's got to be much more. That's got to require
Yeah.
much more discipline.
It does.
So-
Well, also that's just how my brain works. I don't necessarily like to include a lot of like shamey stuff. Like the
Right.
there was just like a big celebrity roast online, and I was like, I would decline the offer,
Right.
Because it would hurt my feelings. Just so we're clear, like the whole thing.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, I have to admit, I sometimes am a Kill Tony fan. And,
Oh, yeah, me
but I
too.
would not survive that because
No.
I don't have thick enough skin for that.
No, I don't. I don't. The one guy from Kill Tony just made it to SNL, I think. What was his
Really?
name? Cam?
Okay.
Somebody?
I'm not sure.
I don't remember his
Yeah.
last name.
But no, I've seen a couple of roasts. I'm like, I could not handle that.
No.
Even though, because there's one thing that for a lot of us, our humor is so relaxing and it opens up so much.
Right.
Opens up so much
Yeah.
that it opens up some of the dark sides of ourselves
Correct.
without us even thinking about it.
Yes.
Our own nature is flying under the radar. And next thing you
Yes.
know, we joked about something going, oh, I can't take that back.
I don't know
my
why.
gosh.
Do you watch Theo Vaughn at all? Or
Yes.
Have you heard his stuff?
Uh-huh.
He's perfect for saying stuff that you're like, had he not said it that way, I feel like people would have got offended. I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like he's really good at that.
Well, but the comedians, I mean, people who were able to kind of make us point out absurdities and kind of make us laugh at the uncomfortable thing,
Yes.
so necessary.
It is necessary.
Oh my gosh. I mean, without that, and I've been around a lot of people who, I don't know what the deal is, somewhere along the line, humor and piety just they decided it
Lost
shouldn't
it.
mix or somehow. I don't agree with that.
Yeah, me neither.
Eh,
No, I was talking to someone. I was getting my hair done yesterday, and the lady she came out and she's like, I'm going to tell a joke that's super dark, but I'm just going to tell it. And I was like, bring it on, because I'm here. Because that's the whole thing for me. It's like I've been through a lot. My whole life, everyone's been through a lot.
Right.
My life has been filled with a lot of stories that would kind of sound like a Lifetime movie. A lot of like abuse and all these different things. And I'm like, had I not gotten funny out of it and my therapist not said it's okay to cope with humor, I'd be really sad.
Lifetime movie or Hallmark?
Lifetime.
Lifetime, okay.
It was
good.
rough.
Just wanted,
Hallmark
like,
has
no.
I mean, it does have a happy ending now.
Right.
It could be Hallmark.
Right.
It could.
Right.
Yeah, sure. A really
Like-
weird Hallmark movie.
Right. Well, unless you go to the Bet channel, I mean,
Yeah.
Bet TV. Then
It's true.
It's a different thing altogether.
It's true. That
Right.
would be funny.
So no,
It's real. And when you deal with it too, like, because I'm staff at a church too, so there's a lot of heavy situations.
Right.
Obviously, we're here to help people and point them to Jesus. And there's sometimes where things are so heavy that if I don't crack a joke, like during 2020, during COVID, we went to so many funerals that I just became basically a jester of the courts is what it felt
Right.
like. And I just walked around making jokes because everything was so intense and everyone was so scared. And it was like, okay, we have got to like lighten the mood a little bit.
that pressure relief valve is so important.
Uh-huh.
We go oftentimes. I've spent a lot of time around the fire service as a chaplain for different departments,
Right.
and people oftentimes talk about the dark humor of first
Yes.
responders. It's a thing,
It is.
and it's also necessary too.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically, I was on a call with the station in Seminole County, in Central Florida, where I just came up, and so we are on the engine, and the call came off as what they call chemical suicide. And we're like, What is a chemical suicide? I
What
don't
is
know.
it?
So we're not sure what that is, but you get a little bit more information as you go on the engine as by the time we get to the scene. When we get there, we realize the reason why it's called a chemical suicide came off as on that across the call is because someone saw someone who's deceased in a car and they could smell them from across the parking lot.
Oh my gosh.
That's why
That makes sense.
Right. So that's why it came off as chemical suicide. We're like, okay, so what's going on here?
How do you even handle that?
Well, this person there's been a missing persons report for quite some time.
Yeah.
And the Florida Sun had been baking them in their car for quite some time.
Awful. Yeah.
And so by the time we get there, there's decomp is really
There's a lot of things going on.
has its thing. And so everybody at one point went up to the window and were like, oh my gosh, who's going to open this car? I don't want to open the car. Are you going to open the car? We got to pull the victim out. First of all, sheriff's office is going to tape that whole off. They have to investigate it as a crime scene first. Turns out it just looked like someone who had deceased and maybe for whatever reason, but
no one knew.
It's going to make the coroner's off the autopsy is going to be difficult because of decomp. Nevertheless, everyone went up to the window and went, oh boy, rock, paper, scissors. Who's going to open this car?
Rock, paper, scissors. Because it's so intense.
And so here's where that dark humor goes. Okay, Chapman goes up to the window, looks inside, and I'm sorry. I looked at my crew and went, he chose poorly. From Indiana Jones.
From Indiana Jones.
Chap, you did not go there. Yes, I did.
Yes, I did. Because they're dealing with this kind of stuff every single day. And it's like, how do you rationalize that in your brain? You make jokes because you just can't. And it's not making fun of people. It's trying to make light of the situation so you can process it.
You're right, exactly.
Because people are, especially like in first responders or anyone has those kind of heavy jobs. Yeah. It can get really dark in your head. And if you don't kind of just say it sometimes and clear the air by saying something, sometimes people hold on to that and they take it into home or they take it into different areas. It's not worth it.
You have to crack that pressure relief valve open. Otherwise, the pressure builds up in the soul over time. Correct. And the tank can blow up in some unproductive way.
Yeah, it's true.
And so that's why you get that kind of the person with that sense of humor who's helping other people laugh about the same thing.
Yep.
And all of us have our own guilty pleasure where in public we would say, oh, that was in such poor taste. And then secretly we're watching the video again so we can laugh our head off.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's like, it's that secret, that we maintain for ourselves.
Sure.
Kind of like how the difference between Baptists and Anglicans, the Anglicans will actually wave at you at the liquor store.
See, there's so many of these. I know some jokes, but I realized that none of them are about Christianity. Honestly, my family's Polish, and the other side of my family wasn't Polish, and so there's some jokes that I don't get that are from like 1920s. I don't tell them, but I remember telling one time at school, and they were like, you cannot do that. That's against Polish people. And I was like, I didn't know. No one told me. I don't even know Polish people. And they were like, we're Polish. It was a whole thing. No. But sometimes you can offend people.
You can laugh at yourself. Sometimes people, especially if you're laughing at yourself.
Yeah, it's
true.
The
problem is that, like, for racial comedy, I can't. It's hard to make fun as a white person. It's hard to make fun of myself because if I try to do an impression of a white person, like everybody else, I'm only doing an impression of Eddie Murphy doing an impression of white people.
Correct. Yes. So,
right. Because they kind of corner the market on what a white person sounds like, and they're really uptight, and they simply their belts pull too tight, and they simply can't dance.
Yeah. Right.
And so you're always making an impression of someone else who coined that, but you're still trying to make fun of yourself in some way. I think that Christians need to do that. They have to maintain that practice.
Yes.
I haven't given you this book yet, but it's on loan to someone else at the church. But I have a book called... From the
library.
Well, it's a book called A Field Guide to Evangelicals in Their Habitat. It's an ethnography of evangelical quirks.
What does ethnography mean?
Oh, okay.
What is that?
Sorry, it's an anthropological study.
Okay, what does anthropological study mean? What in the world?
I'm sorry about this.
Don't be sorry. I love that I don't know.
I have a little bit of a background as an academic.
I love it.
And so
I went to Troy University for communication, so I don't know anything about YouTube algorithms. It's fine.
With YouTube algorithms, I I don't. That's.
But your words
I'm
sound
in
much
recovery
bigger
from
than
YouTube
what I'm
algorithms.
saying.
I'm on, so.
Yeah.
But no. So anthropology is, of course, a doctrine of the
Right,
church.
yeah.
But it's also in academic setting. It's a study of shared pattern human behaviors.
Okay, great.
And so.
But it's okay. I'm here.
Well,
I love it.
Right. And so so anthropology as a doctrine is what is the nature of man and why do we need Jesus? But anthropology as a academic study is what does that culture do and why did they do it?
Okay, yeah.
And so culture, of course, is those things that everyone knows so much that no one has to say.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so we had a book here called The Field Guide to Evangelicals and Their Habitat, and discusses the various different habits of evangelicals and why are certain license plates more popular with some?
Sure.
What is the necessity for why you must dress a certain way? Why? And it's hilarious.
Yes.
With a comprehensive list of who's going to hell.
Yeah. Love it.
And
just pre-decided, Just go ahead and tell them, let them know. We took a class called Propaganda and Persuasion. That's the closest thing I can think of. That talked about why people wear what they wear, but it got really dark, and so that class was really intense. So never mind. Anyways, it got really scary because I was like, why are people they're like the same thing that caused people to hate each other causes people to buy the same shoes. And I was like, this is too heavy for me. I thought this was a free class. But yes, that book.
Well, no, it was the reason why it was so helpful is because you saw yourself in different pages, like, this is where I see where this is going. A whole chapter on Christian speak and Christian words and Christianese, exactly. You're like, oh man, I'm so found so much in these pages.
Yep.
Why do you find when someone asks you to pick a life verse, why did you pick that life verse as opposed to others?
Yep.
Why? And various different articles. It was familiar with Babylon Bee?
Yes, I love Babylon Bee.
It was published long before Babylon Bee was a thing, but it was Christian satire.
Okay,
which really had us rolling.
Which is wonderful.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious.
I need to read that.
So, your first time performing at Dothan Opera House is coming up.
Yes. Well, so the last show was at Dothan Performing Arts.
Okay.
And then, was at Dothan Opera House. And this time is my own show where I have an opener who I'm working on right now, contacting, and a whole show that's dedicated to laughing and having fun.
So how did you develop your set over time? I'm sure that goes from the first time you tell someone and you're able to tell the joke with the right timing, and someone goes, you should do this on stage, and kind of, if you could walk us through to the point where now here you are doing your own show.
So I grew up in, like I said, some heavy environments. Like there was a lot of drug abuse. There was a lot of just different things going on family wise. But my big thing is never casting shame on them and trying to, because everyone's like, I think people think that generally, I would never do that. I could never get in that situation. Oh, yes, you would. It is very hard life, and my biological family has been through a lot of really hard stuff. But one of the good parts of them is that we would go and sit around bonfires, and they would just, my aunts and uncles and my mom and all these people would just story tell. And they'd tell the most atrocious stories, like horrifying. As a kid, I was like, oh my gosh, but why am I laughing? And they did that, and I think I was thinking about that on the way here. That's kind of where it started for me. My Aunt Nina, who was in Nina, her name was Glenna, not Nina. Right. Nina is very country. She passed away probably 6 or 7 years ago, but she was an incredible storyteller. And I remember hearing that. And they had been through they had so much pain in their lives, but they were storytellers. And so I grew up hearing that, and I grew up knowing that like in heavy moments, still there can be like some humor. And so I just did that. And I naturally, that's how I cope with everything that I went through. A lot of pain and a lot of things. And so for me, people would always say stuff like, people's meemaws would be like, Jordan, you missed your calling. You should have been a comedian. And I was always like, quit saying that. Like, I get they're trying to mean it as a compliment, but it's kind of like a southern backhanded, like,
bless your heart.
I'm like, I didn't miss anything. I'm only 20. Like, I really want to do this. And so there's multiple families that have stepped in, obviously, to the nature of my upbringing, stepped in. There's John and Brandy, who are people, they're like local pastors in town, but they stepped in when I was like, I believe 15. I try to remember 15, and then my friend Chandler's room, and all these people who just came around and helped me get to the right sources to actually get healing, to know
Okay.
Jesus. And also, so when that came in, of like knowing Jesus and being like, there's a part to me always, because I didn't grow up. So like the Christianese stuff you're talking about, I didn't grow up in church, right? My family was kind of like, I mean, my one side was kind of like a little trailer park Wiccans is what I like to call it. Like they did witchcraft and like sometimes.
That's a great combination to have.
But they were good
So,
at it. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, I don't know what to say. And the other half, my father's side of the family was Catholic, and we only went to church like every once in a while.
I prefer the trailer park Wiccans
It
to the upper crust Wiccans.
It was just like, I was so confused on what was going on. And there was so much, and there's obviously the Christian people as well, but it was just like this very confusing conglomeration of like all these different things. Once again, a lot of brokenness, but also a lot of just life. Everyone has brokenness.
Right.
And so with that, when I came to know Jesus, there was always a part of me that I felt like when I finally, I don't know, made that decision to know that, oh, Jesus has been with me this whole time and this is how. There's so much humor in this. But you're right. A lot of people don't like to laugh or poke fun at it because they're like, it's a holy thing and you cannot laugh. And I'm like, laughter is holy. Are we kidding ourselves right now? Like, you don't think there's sometimes, John was saying the other day, I don't remember what it was about, like thinking about what Jesus was thinking in moments. Like some moments when he just kind of walked away for a minute. I'm like, that Joker was probably like, and you just have to laugh. It's like when your kids do something really silly and they say something that's actually funny, but you're like, I don't need to laugh at that. So you just have to walk away for a second and go, if I encourage this behavior, Soza will forever do that. But that's my daughter's name. But, whatever. But long story short, I grew up like that. And finally, I told somebody, his name's Clay Dempsey. He's the Dothan Performing Arts Director. I was like, hey, I just want to do this. I want to try. And then he called me one day, like 2 months later, and was like, hey, do you want to open for this girl? So it went backwards. I was not supposed to be able to do that. I should have went to multiple open mic nights and done that stuff before I got this opportunity. Opportunity happened. Apparently, it sold a lot of tickets from like my side of things and obviously her side of things. And I was given the opportunity. I did it. I came off stage and he was like, hey, you want your own show? And I was like, what? And so that's how it happened. And so I'm excited. There's a couple other things coming up. Like this coming Tuesday, I'm doing the Houston County DHR has a annual foster parent dinner. And they asked me to come do comedy for a few minutes. And I'm like, I wasn't in foster care. Like I make a lot of jokes, but I kind of skirted the system. So I don't know, like, should I go up there and be like, I should have been foster care, but I wasn't. So here we are. Like, I don't know. But not really. But it was just, there's that kind of opportunity. And now I'm going to Colorado to a place called Fort Collins.
Wonderful.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
To do someone's like employee retreat. And I'm like, how is all of this happening? And I know it's the Lord. It's just so exciting that like it's happening. I'm 32 and it happened at the right time.
Oh, I know. There's a term that we throw around. It's kind of an old world term. I feel like it. I'm sad that it fell out of favor. Wish it would get a comeback. But the term is providence. And it's an old world term that people use to mean divine intervention through seemingly natural processes to achieve redemptive results. And it gets used in a lot of the documents related to America's founding. You see it in old letters, but everyone understood that providence is, I can't quite see exactly the miraculous finger of God holding the button down on this, but it's obvious to me the way in which events have been arranged where this redemptive results have come about. And so as the events occur, you're like, I can't take credit for all this.
Correct.
I mean, it's obviously God is working something in some manner that I can't claim remotely having orchestrated this for myself.
Right. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And you asked how my sets come about. So the first time every time I'm telling a story about something and someone's like, oh, that's funny. I'm like, I'll just write it down. So I didn't practice that one night until the day before. And all I practiced was my transitions.
Okay.
And somehow it worked. And I was like, okay, because when I try to memorize the entire thing, it doesn't work. I start stuttering on my words. It gets weird. I'm trying to force something. But when I'm just getting up there and storytelling, it's so much easier. And people will be like, hey, I have a joke for you to tell. And I'm like, hey, all my jokes are just random stuff that happens to me. It has to be authentic to me. I can't tell your joke, but you can, because I'm trying to start an open mic night in Dothan. I have a meeting about that today. And so I think that I love hearing other people's stories too. So it's just getting up there, telling stories, and just going for it. I probably should prepare more.
Well, I mean,
but I don't.
Well, you'll find that. I mean, anything that you really want to do well requires some measure of honing.
Yeah.
And because I myself have never lost the preaching jitters, just because any given time at the pulpit is like, oh my gosh. I mean, John Mulaney once described the homily as a combination of a book report and stand-up. And so,
I love John Mulaney.
but nevertheless, even though you should get used to that. I haven't.
No.
And
it makes me.
I know, my gosh.
Yeah.
And so as a result, there are ways in which you practice to try to get a little bit better. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it doesn't need improvement.
Right.
And so you'll practice
It's
those
true.
transitions,
It's true.
hone it down to a fine art, and
Yes.
you're getting where it seems everyone else is going, boy, she seems to do this so effortlessly.
No.
Yeah.
I'm about to shake out of. When I went up right before the last time, I almost started crying. I was like, I can't do this. And I was like, but I have to. And then I just stepped out and I was like, hey, everybody. I was like, whether or not I show how nervous I am or not, I don't know what I was about to go there. But I just basically was like, you can either be nervous and ruin this or you can try. And I just went out and tried and it worked out. So I was thankful. I will say, like, the way my brain works, I have ADHD. I've had it. Like, I'm one of the OGs. I've had it since before Dothan Behavioral was over here by.
I do my AD in HD.
Right.
So,
So you understand a little bit.
Yeah.
But like,
High
I
definition.
have this. So like writing it down and working on it and thinking through it a lot and then practicing the transitions like a week before is helpful to me because it's free flowing enough that new stuff can come in, but it's also like just repetition. I couldn't do what I did again right after it. It's like learning a lot for a test and then dumping it and walking away is what happened. So I'm going to work on that, but it worked out.
Well, there are aspects, that you'll work on and you'll try to hone, but there are things that I've still always struggled with. And seemingly it's never improved.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure this is what Paul's thorn in the flesh was. He was like this thing.
Right.
I probably have the same thing. I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
Yeah. But I've never been able to slow down talking. I've even put little turtle icons on the edge of my
try to slow down.
on the edge of my sermon. Like slow down, buddy. But I still I was referred to one time as the audio equivalent of fine print.
The audio equivalent of fine print.
Like somehow my
That's funny.
preaching is somehow the lottery disclaimer at the end of the commercial.
Yeah.
And like, no, I'm trying to slow down and I've never been able to overcome that, though I keep working on it.
Right.
And you'll find those things you're like, I'm still working on this. It seems after years of being on stage.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I think I started trying to move my hands a lot, but I realized if I go back and watch it in full speed, I just kind of did this. Like I was like doing like that Rasputin dance from Just Dance. I just kept going like this and I'm like, what was I doing? I didn't even fully grab my arm. I don't know. It was like a nervous tick. And so I'm like, I want to get better control of my arms.
Well, you're trying to keep a clean, you're trying to
so
keep a
nervous.
clean set, but you were
true.
sign languaging some profanity.
I
to
was
somebody
sign
at some
language. There was
point.
a little bit going
You
on
really
here.
were.
I don't know what was happening.
Yeah.
It was really funny because the
Some deaf
promoter-
person's going to write you.
Right, and they're going to be like,
would
this
you
is
realize
what
what
it
you were
means.
saying?
No, I don't know. I was just going for it. And I like grabbed my arm back here and go like this. And I was like, was I hugging myself or something? I don't know.
COVID was
fun.
great for that. COVID
Yeah.
was the first time we saw all sorts of people giving health officials giving in television announcements with the sign language person there on the screen.
Right.
And we all ignored the person that was talking and just watched the sign
'Cause
language
it's so
person.
cool.
It was awesome.
I love watching it.
Right. And some of them where it gets expressions, their
Right.
facial expressions, their gestures at the
Because
same
it's
time.
a language.
You get some popcorn out. You just watch them.
It's wonderful.
It's greatness.
Yeah. So the part of one of the family leaders, like John and Brandy, who took me in, Auntie Donna, who is John's aunt, is deaf and hard of hearing, and her daughter goes through, and I watch her because when they're communicating, she'll translate for us. But I'll just get so stuck on watching Eliza. I'm just like, this is so cool that I'm like, I'm in a conversation, and so it's a whole thing. But I just love being around them because it's like a whole different way. I should have done ASL in college because I had to do like some sort of language instead of failing Spanish 4 times because we got to conjugation, which I don't know if you know what that is, of verbs.
Yes.
But basically it's like where like rubber meets the road and I just failed every time and I should have just switched.
I tried ASL and I felt like I always had the same speech impediment.
Did you grab your arms like
I
this
just
or not?
somewhere along the line, my fingers and hands were just not in the right place, and it just came across as a visual learning disability.
Right. You were like, I just can't get it
I
right.
can't.
No.
That was my thing.
It works.
So your set's comprised of a lot of personal stories.
A
things
lot
you've
of
gone through.
personal stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, things. The last set, I don't know. I probably should have sent it to you before this. I don't know. I told a story about being on a plane and getting food poisoning. And
I saw that.
You
Yeah,
did?
yeah.
Okay, great. I crapped my
Right.
pants in 10,000
Yeah,
feet.
right,
People were
right.
like, hey, can you come and do this, but can you not tell that story? I'm like, it was one time, okay? I'm not going to tell it again, but it's worth it because it made people laugh. But also, I don't want to go around. Somebody came up to me after the show and he was like, that bit you wrote about the plane was really funny. And I said...
Yeah.
that was real life, sir. And he was like, what? And I was like, that was real life. Who makes up the fact that they crap their pants on a plane?
Right,
Not
right.
me. I'm
No,
not
no.
going to make it up. It's
No,
not
no,
a fun thing. It's
Oh,
my reality.
No, and I have stories like that, but I mean, of course, I always have to weigh that against the self-image that I really want to project to other people because my ego is way too fragile.
Yeah.
And so I really don't want to share things of that level of detail.
I share way too much.
I know. I mean, but unfortunately, though, I did share the story one time about why eventually there was a time when I was not in better shape.
Sure.
And so what was the catalyst to try to get in the shape? It was the time I shot a button off in the middle of church. And
no.
I'm not, so
That is
here's
so
the,
funny.
I'm not making this up. So I'm at the church in Katy, Texas.
Okay.
And I wasn't the priest. I was assisting him as a deacon. But there was this moment where, Anglican worship, Catholic worship is very calisthenic. You're kneeling, you're standing, you're sitting, and so forth. And you keep the calisthenics up to make sure everyone stays awake.
Yeah.
Right?
I love that.
Yeah. But the point is that there was a moment when I was kneeling, and I was kneeling next to the altar where the priest was preparing everything. And I felt in the front of my robe, like this little something hit the front of my robe. I'm like, oh no, I just shot. Oh gosh. And I know what's going to happen when I stand up, because when I stood up, at the moment I stood up, the button came out from underneath the robe and it rolled across the tile all the way across the stage. It was loud too.
I was hoping it was carpet.
No, it was a tile. It rolled all the way over across the whole chancel over by the rail where people were going to be kneeling in a moment to take communion. I'm like, oh no, that was God going, dude, you gotta. And so, right.
Silly.
So, no, that's the thing. Like people go, that did not happen. Absolutely 100%. Right. Because God will have none of this, inflated self-image thing.
Correct.
It just somewhere along the line, he saw you and went, you think rather highly of yourself. We'll have none of that.
It's fine. Crap yourself on a plane. No, I'm just kidding. That's just what it felt like. I was like, that was a little humbling.
I know, right?
But yeah, it's not taking ourselves too seriously. Yeah. It's like there was this famous TikTok audio that went viral like maybe a year ago. And the girl says, you know what it never was? That serious. And I listened to that and just kept saying it because I'm like, you know what? It's not that serious. It's not that serious. There's some things that are serious, but I don't need to take myself so seriously because during COVID, I got so stressed out because growing up, my family would always talk about the world ending. I don't know why. They love to talk about it. I was like, this is the worst. They had a heavy distrust of the government, which was very confusing because we were on WIC. And I'm like, we're taking from both things. It's fine though. Do what you need. But like we did this and like they would talk about it. So when COVID happened, I went, this is it. Half my face went numb. And so for 6 months, I walked around like this because I was so stressed out. And I was like, I'm fine. And I come into the office.
So you had just come from the dentist for like 6 months?
Yeah, that's what it looked
like. With the Novocaine thing, right?
It was just, and they're like, it's not Bell's palsy. Yeah. Is it stress? And I was like, I'm not stressed. Who cares? And my friend Kenny, every time I walk into the building, he would play that song by The Weeknd called I Can't Feel My Face When I'm With You. Yeah. Okay, Kenny. So if you're listening, this is for you. And I got so mad. I was like, how could you do this to me? It's so disrespectful. Blah, 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 blah. And then one day I just went, you know what? This is kind of funny. I was like, but he's a great example of someone that like during that time, he's my husband's best friend. Like they grew up together and all of that. So they were really good friends at that time too. And so it's funny because with me and him, he's always with me when I'm at my most like, I could just freak out over nothing. He'll say something funny or do like a roast or something. And I have to choose in that moment. Is he being funny or am I about to get offended over what he's saying? And then choosing offense over like laughing with him. Now at this point in my life, I choose funny with him way more often because he is funny. He knows how to break the ice with humor. Right. But the offense, oh my gosh, during 2020, we were about to fist fight at one point. When he played that song, I was like, who does he use? And I looked in the mirror and I said, okay, he kind of got me. Like I can't feel my face.
Just earlier this morning, Thomas and I were talking about tracking the absurdities through the Bible.
Sure.
And the way in which the humor seems to leap off the page.
Yeah.
And all the different episodes that if I'm making a movie of that shot, it's going to play. It's going to play very well. It's going to have full comedic value.
Sure. And
that's something that's sorely lacking from many who just the stuffed shirts who decided that somehow, genuine reverent piety required having losing their sense of humor. People can lose their senses. the COVID, people are losing sense of smell. Sometimes you're losing sense of
Everything
taste.
tastes like
People
hamburger
can
meat.
lose a sense of humor.
Sure. Yeah.
And as a result, it's just all the colors of the life just seem to kind of fade
Yes.
to
It's
gray.
true. It's true.
And so
Definitely.
that's why it's so necessary. Now, I try not to keep some of those jokes out of our liturgical moments.
Right.
When I'm trying to
There's
conduct.
appropriate time for jokes in certain
They really
certain
are,
types
right?
of jokes.
But even then, in
Yeah.
those reverential moments when I'm really
Yeah.
trying to execute things as they ought to go, there even then there seems those moments where God goes, "You're taking yourself pretty seriously right now,
Right.
and we'll have none of that." And I've thrown the body of Christ spread across across the altar before, going, "Oh my gosh!" And that's like a capital offense.
Yes.
In many ways.
We went to some when we were going to the Catholic church when I was younger. They would pick, my aunt would go help, and she would clean up.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why one of the ladies that was there would kneel down. And the church is beautiful. They were all very nice people. I was a kid, and so I didn't know that, number one, my volume mattered, and my questions were not always required. And so every time this lady would stop and she would kneel in front of this golden thing, I was like, why is she doing that? And my aunt was like, shut up. And she explained it to me. But even kids, I feel like kids haven't lost that sense of not wonder, but also laughing at things.
Yeah.
But it's this transition of putting away childish things, and it just becomes this. You're right.
No, my daughter has that sense of humor too.
Yes, I love that.
One of the things I absolutely tried to cultivate and love in her is just the ability to ask questions at the wrong moment with the right in the right tone.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, "Oh, sweet pea, oh gosh, you're killing me." However, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, I'm glad you're asking questions.
Exactly right.
This is not the correct time, but it's fine.
No, she had just, and sometimes that biting wit that you want to have that kind of cultivation.
Yeah.
Oh, we got to corral that. How are we going to corral this somehow?
Right.
I mean, we talk movies a lot, and so she was asked one time, "Honey," she was asked by someone who was older, "Honey, have you seen the movie God's Not Dead?"
I have not.
And they'd ask her, well,
right.
because certain Christian movies wind up being are somewhat like Orthodox icons. If you don't kiss the DVD cover, we're not sure you're saved.
Correct.
And so so they ask her, "Are you seeing God's Not Dead?" And if she says no, she knows that the old ladies are going to be praying for her soul.
Sure.
And so she's like, but again, that humor is not quite corralled yet.
Right.
And so they'd say, "Have you seen God's Not Dead?" And she says, "Is that the one where the underdog has to maintain their conviction against institutional pressure?" "Yes, honey." "Oh, I think I saw that one, but the one I saw was called Captain America: Winter Soldier."
And
Stop
it. That's
no,
so
you're killing
funny.
me here.
You're killing me. I love that.
But no, that quick wit
That's so
is
funny.
absolutely necessary.
Yeah.
She has that legacy from my sister. My sister was also like that. The one
Yeah.
who was one in the family is perfectly willing to point out the obvious thing that
Yep.
no one else will say,
Mhm.
and so everyone has to have that person
They do.
in their family
Yes.
to crack the relief valve open.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
It's true. That's
So-
so funny.
So does your husband ever go, "Oh, are you going to tell that story?"
He goes, "That's going to be in it, isn't it?" That's actual words. That's going to be in it. And I don't know if he knows what it means in that, but he's like, "Is that going to be in it?" And he's like, "Okay." He's fully fine with me just, I think if my language came off a lot more shamey, because this is very important to me. Okay. I want to be, I not want to be, I love being funny. I love making people laugh. I will not do it at the expense of making someone feel like they're stupid.
Right.
I won't do it, because as much as it's oh, that's not that big of a deal, it is to me.
Right.
I don't like it.
No one ever tells you
right.
no one ever tells you how big a deal it was to them.
Oh my gosh, they never do. And I remember, I'm not trying to be overly sensitive, because I think there's a part of comedy that you can talk about stuff that you normally can't talk about. That's these famous comedians in the past that can say things and they make you think, and you go, hold on just a second, I get what they're saying right now. And so, but for me, I think he trusts me, which is great. Other people in my life don't trust me. So when my comedy skit was coming, they found out that I was going to be on this. I had people reach out and go, "Hey, so what are you going to talk about?" I'm like, "Not you."
Right.
I would tell you if I was going to make a joke that had you in it. I would never just throw someone's Thomas out in the. I mean, I'm like Thomas. There's been
Here
some
comes
really
that bus.
funny times. Right. I'm going to tell you before I say something, but yeah, I just love it.
Well, a lot of pastors learn the hard way how much your family members didn't care to be your illustration.
Right.
and they
Yes.
secretly weren't really appreciating how much they were advancing your career.
Right.
Their embarrassing moment was your perfect
It was your
opportunity
perfect
to expound
opportunity.
Ephesians.
Yes.
And
Cracks me up.
and a lot of them find out the hard way how much that really was kind of
hurt
building
their
over
feelings.
time.
Yeah. John's always done really good with that. I keep mentioning John Dowdy, because they're my family. And so I think about, I wasn't a pastor's kid, right? But when I was 15, John and Brandy took me
You weren't a
under their
pastor's
wing.
kid?
Right?
Sheltered life.
Sheltered life.
Oh my gosh.
But what
So
he did,
that's where it goes. Literally goes pastor kid, and then you graduate up to Trailer Park Wiccan.
Right, yeah.
And so,
there's a stepping stone. But
Right.
with Tyler, when he was younger, he's like, if I'm going to tell a story, Tyler, I'm going to give you money. And Tyler was like, I'm game. And so every time John would tell a story about Tyler was like, that'll be $10. So he was racking it in. Like, he wasn't worried about it.
Yeah,
but as he got older, John
Yeah.
stopped telling those stories as much because Tyler's a grown person now.
Right.
And he was really respectful of that. But I've heard some sermons before where I'm like, from people where I'm like, you did not just say that about them. And they're like, and like, they'll pan to the kid and it's horrifying for them. And I'm like, oh no, not using them as an example. So I don't do that to Jake.
Sometimes you can get away with it so long as it's self-deprecating.
Right, yeah.
So long as, right.
Level.
Oh, yeah.
Or if you give them $10.
Right. I mean, my wife is from the Philippines, and so every now and then that will come up. But typically, it's a fish out of water story about me in the Philippines.
Right.
Because I go there and I don't blend in very well.
Sure.
I'm a full foot taller than the rest of the population of the country.
Yeah.
And
you are tall. When I walked in, I was like looking at the doors, and then I saw you, and I was like, he's tall.
Yeah, hit your head on a few things. You won't be. It's not so awesome.
Sure.
But but no, we go there, and literally, I'm like, I want to blend in with the crowd. She's like, you don't blend in with the crowd. You stand out like a sore thumb. Right. And quite frankly, it's not really complimentary to me to be walking next to Indiana Jones everywhere we go.
Right.
So,
oh my gosh.
So I'm like, I hear you. I got you. So
my mom loves Indiana Jones. What is the Crystal Skull movie?
I only acknowledge the trilogy, the original trilogy, because my pre-ministry career was as an archaeologist.
So not Harrison Ford.
No.
Is he in the other ones?
The first three are Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and Last Crusade.
Right.
And then somewhere along the line, the creators kind of smoked the wrong thing, and the Crystal Skull.
Crystal
Skull, and then something else later on came up. But really, it was a good trilogy. It just needs to stay there. And it was very inspirational because as a 12-year-old kid, I saw that movie like 12 times in the theater.
Right.
And so for many years, I've been a priest for a little over a year now.
Oh, okay.
My pre-priest career was as an archaeologist.
That's cool.
So,
I guess in Indiana Jones. I'm trying to think of any other movie. The Mummy, wasn't he an archaeologist?
They were treasure
hunting.
Brendan Fraser. I mean, that's still a fun one.
It's true.
It's a blast. But yeah, I excavated at sites in Central and South America.
Okay, cool.
And in around Florida as well.
What parts of Florida?
Well, I worked for an environmental engineering company that had me doing the cultural resource management work for new cell towers that were going, any new construction from the Panhandle to Miami.
So
and all over the place.
My husband's family lives in Ocala, and his brother lives in Orlando, and then I lived in the Panhandle, which is what we lived in. We traveled often. It's funny, we lived with different people, but I lived in Vernon, Florida, which they weren't putting up cell towers there. You wouldn't know. Right. About Vernon.
So no, I mean the Panhandle is wonderful. I just didn't realize how much the northern Florida is southern Alabama.
It is the same thing
because that's just culturally this extends to the coast.
Yeah.
But no, I was all over Florida, saw everything, and it was fun. But people made fun of me because they're like, seriously, why do you carry a whip into the field? I'm like, because of wildlife that gets curious about your dig.
Straight.
So sometimes a lot of gators, some snakes, and so forth. That was interesting.
I can imagine the snakes. That's terrifying to me.
The largest rattlesnake I've ever seen was near Tallahassee. Ever.
Side note, I saw this TV show being advertised earlier. It's on what is the one? It's on some actual television. Yeah. And it's basically like, people what are the people called that go into people's houses and then they just you invite them to dog sit and they never leave and it's an issue.
Oh,
squatters.
Yeah, right.
And so I don't know why I'm telling you this. You probably want to cut this out, but here we are. And they went in, and then the guy, they are going in, and their job is to help get these people out of the house.
Okay.
And so the guy went in, and I believe he brought in an archaeologist or something, and this other person who brought snakes into the house because the lady was scared. So they had a big tank of snakes and they just sat there and she ended up leaving. And that's just people's job, is just to go into people's house and get them out. So that's made me think of the snakes for some reason.
So that's triggering. Why did you bring that up?
Because you said snakes and I got scared. That's the last snake I've seen.
No, I'm regressing right now. You shouldn't have done that because when my kids were very little, I remember we were in a house in Northern California and I was laying in bed and you can hear something scratching inside the walls. Like, what's the mice inside the walls? Oh my gosh. And literally laying there and going, God, could you do something about that mouse in the wall? And then literally you're praying, God, do something about that mouse in the wall. I'm not being able to sleep very well. After a while, you don't hear the mouse and the scratching in the wall anymore. And you're like, that's awesome. God did something with the mouse.
He did.
That's fantastic. You never know how you're going. General prayers get answered generally, and specific prayers get answered specifically. And so when you pray, God, please do something about the mouse in the wall. Well, there you go. So a couple of weeks, about a couple of days later, or I'm in the kitchen getting breakfast ready. My kid's mom opens up a drawer and there's a coiled king snake in the drawer of the kitchen.
No way.
I wouldn't joke about a thing like this.
That's terrifying.
No. So we figured out how God dealt with the mouse in the wall. And so getting the snake out of the kitchen was a comedy of errors all in and of itself.
Yeah, I would have called the police.
Well, yeah. It turns out there
house.
aren't pest control people that will come deal with the snake. We had to do it ourselves.
Really? In Dothan there's a guy, I don't know him.
Really?
And he can come we used to know a guy, Thomas and I knew a guy named Wes. And I believe that was his job. But there's another guy that goes around and he'll come get wildlife, like a hawk out of your backyard or something.
Okay.
I don't know. It's not my job. Wildlife removal is what it's called. Or my pest control people actually told me, Redmond's Pest Control, they were like, yeah, at the golf course, we have to go remove alligators sometimes and put them in a different place. Never. I would never do that job.
Snakes, that's gotta
alligators.
be interesting.
Yeah, just golf over it. It's terrifying.
Well, I do see the alligators out at the golf course, but I mean, and I've been wanting to. I don't know if you play golf or not at all, but I've been trying to get people to play golf with me because I have to invent my own rules in order to keep it fun.
I know a guy who will play golf with you, but it's just
according to my rules keep it fun. I'm not. I do not. I mean,
I don't know if he makes it like he's not good at it or not. Are you good at golf?
No, absolutely not.
See, he says that too, but I think that means you guys are good.
No. I always say people say, well, how did it go? I'm like, I broke even. I found as many balls as I lost.
Oh my gosh.
Or someone say, what was your score? I'm like, I don't focus on the past. I don't think you should either.
I don't focus. I'll play mini golf, but there's alligators and snakes there.
You're going to die, clown. So
right. There you go. See?
Right. That's helpful. So I'm excited. So June 13th.
June 13th
is going to be at Dothan Opera House.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So
and somehow it's already sold tickets. That was surprising. I was like, and then people will just be coming at me randomly like, hey, I got you tickets to your show. And I'm like, I cannot believe you're buying tickets to come hear me talk. It's like, what in the world? I'm excited.
So, I mean, and prior to this, though, you've been in front of crowds. Have you had to do crowds interaction? How spontaneous have you had to be?
So I'm very spontaneous because of ADHD, but there's a conference we do called Courage Conference for Women. It's for anybody that wants to come, and I host it and I do a session at it most of the time. So Courage Conference, and when I do that, it's a lot of interaction with the women in the room, and that's honestly was my first chance. So Brandy is the one who gave me the chance to do that, and so I learned the crowd work thing, and the telling of the jokes and kind of like sensing what's in front of you. I've not done like really up close crowd work because on the Opera House stage I couldn't see. I don't know if it's because I blacked out because I was so nervous. I don't remember going up there, but I did. But looking down at people, I couldn't see anybody's faces because of the lights. So I'm hoping to do a little bit more crowd work. We'll see what happens. I don't know if I can see you or if I don't get so nervous that I just fall off the stage. I don't know. Apparently I made a joke about Adam Sandler and I watched back and I was like, oh, I didn't even know I did that. It's fine. Thomas was there. He would know.
As long as they keep a little padding down in the orchestra pit, then you'll be fine.
It'll be fine. And there's no padding. It's just straight stairs and floor.
Oh, no. I know. I would require it.
I'd go viral if I just passed out. I'd probably go more viral from just passing out and falling and breaking my arm than I would to having a good set.
That's why people ask me, how did church go? And my response always is minimal injuries.
Minimal injuries.
Exactly.
Great.
So, because there are ways in which you could get noticed more, but it didn't accomplish why you were there.
Right. People ask me too, like, how did church go today? And I'm like, it was wonderful. And I don't know what they want me to answer it with. I'm like, it was great. Wonderful time. And the thing about you saying not taken too seriously that made me think about this moment too is I don't know if you were there, Thomas, for like I don't think it was the worship night that you came and helped with, but there was, they started the music in the background, or however it works. My husband's the music like person with like a few other people, so I don't know exactly how it works. Basically, everything got off track. It was rough, and like they were getting into it, and they were probably like 30 seconds into it, and Kaylin was like, "Hold on, everybody. Okay, that did not go well. We're just going to start over." And that spoke to so many people, because it was like, we're not taking it that seriously. If it's off and like we're trying to figure it out, we'll just stop and start again. And it's not that it is not that serious. It's just, I don't know. I appreciate that about the culture of the people that I surround myself, because Kaylin and Jackie, his wife, are some of our really good friends. And he's someone that should be like, hold on, let's just restart it. It's not that big of a deal.
I've done that too, where it's like you start off on the wrong foot and it totally goes off the rails.
Yeah, just start it over.
That's why I've mentioned it before, because we have acolytes and helpers, people that assist with that and assist with our worship. And it's heartening to see that out of reverence, very persnickety about getting it right.
Sure.
And I'm great. That is the right attitude to have. But then when something goes wrong, I'll seem like, oh my gosh, what did I do?
Right.
And I always say, remember, for reasons which seem good to him, God has humans do this stuff.
Right.
If he wanted perfection, he'd stuck with angels.
Straight up.
And I have to remember that because of the time. I remember at another church where I was serving as the deacon, again, kind of calisthenic. You're standing, you're kneeling, and so forth. And I was kneeling. We have some of our furniture is that you kneel and you can, it's the kneeler. And so like this one here. And so you kneel for prayer.
Oh yeah. I remember those things. They just kind of
right.
I don't know why I'm doing that motion. They just, okay, great.
Well, the kneeler is, of course, to kneel on the pad. You can place your book there, place your Bible there. Anyway, so they had one of those right up on the altar, next to the altar. That's where the assistant would kneel when the priest is praying. And the corner of my robe, of course, caught the edge of the furniture. And so when I stood up rather enthusiastically, during the quiet reverential moment when you're supposed to transition into something more sacred than even the rest of the service, a corner of my robe caught the piece of the furniture, and I launched it Jerry Springer style across the altar. And it's like a biggest ruckus that you could think of, and literally something out of Geraldo where the chair goes flying.
Yes.
It completely shatters the whole reverence of the moment. And so I always assure people that are assisting me with that, and they say, oh, I feel like I was off a little bit. And I'm like, brother, you do not know what you're talking about.
That is such a good reminder that you said. I'm going to remember that. I get a recording of this. I can watch it later. Okay, great.
Absolutely.
If he wanted perfection, it would not be us doing it. That is so true.
Somewhere along the line, the human worship is to God more valuable than perfect worship.
Right. Yeah, that's
it's
good.
To us to pursue reverence, and out of that respect and reverence and honor and love, want to get it right. That's our attitude.
Yeah.
But it seems as though he prefers human worship to perfect worship.
Yeah, for sure.
And so that's why, humans do these things.
That's why I can't sing, but I be singing, you know what I'm saying? We're not all Thomas.
Well, no, I mean, no, but there's some limits to that. I'm constantly kind of admonishing our congregation, please sing louder.
Come on.
Please sing louder to drown me out.
Because
the extent that you can, because the extent you can hear my voice, it's not the best as good as it can be. No. I think that it would be far better if people could hear me less,
right?
Especially with regard to singing, because it does come across as kind of a slow death.
I just found out at our church there's crowd mics for the singers because they have ears in, and I was like, "What do you mean there's crowd mics?" And they're like, "Oh, we can hear you because I sit on the front row because it's my job to go around and do whatever." And I said, did you know there were crowd mics, Thomas? Jake says, yeah, there's crowd mics, but don't worry, I have them turned completely down. And I was like, what? But all the front people can hear me just, ah! And I was like, this is the most horrifying thing ever. Why do we have crowd mics? They're like, because we want to be apart. And I'm like, I'm not sitting there. Can you tune me out specifically? But this whole time I thought I'd just been really quiet. I know I could hear me, but apparently I'm just belting. They're like, oh yeah, we can really hear you. And I'm like, what does that mean? Really hear me? It's fine.
I know. And I think sometimes in my alone moments it's weird because I think I sound sound okay.
I'm right.
And then you get the right recording and I sound like a nasal 12-year-old. And it's something really weird, like this is prepubescent weird boy that decided he needed to preach that day, which is just something that is just not complimentary at
No.
all. I mean, and we all think we can sound okay, but karaoke tells the truth.
It's true.
And so
I don't do karaoke.
you're looking at the only white boy who beat a room full of Asians at karaoke.
Okay, great.
I
love that.
When my wife and I were getting acquainted, and my go-to to get the high score each time was Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh my gosh. What is it? You've never seen this show probably. I don't know if y'all have seen King of the Hill.
Yeah.
Okay, I love King of the Hill. Isn't it Khan who is Laotian, but he does comedy and it's like a huge deal and he like gives his whole life to it. And then I think the machine gets turned off and he realizes he can't sing at all. Yeah. I don't know, that would be devastating because I think some people have mics. Even at some churches, I think they have mics that help like autocorrect. And I was like, can I get one of those, Jake? I could be on the worship
AI
team.
to make me sound angelic when I sing.
I want to sound like Mariah Carey in this microphone. They have T-Pain ones, but I want Mariah Carey. I don't want T-Pain.
I know. Well, it's like that's why I resisted like the videotaping. People say, "Are you streaming your service?" Like I resisted that because the temptation will be, wait a second, is it getting my good side? That camera angle made my nose look too big. Thomas, get this in post. I want to make sure I want to look better.
In post. Thomas
Exactly.
and Jake, my husband, really don't like when I say that because we'll be filming people for different things. I'm like, we could just edit that in post and you just see their faces go, no, we can't.
We can't. It's right. I know.
It's fine. Whatever. But yeah.
Thank you so much for coming in and joining us. This is a real pleasure. And I just wanted to find out about your routine, what you've got coming up, and just this story about how it got to this place. I mean, that's fantastic. Yeah. And I just think that especially a Christian developing a clean set that people will enjoy. Yeah. I mean, it's not that abundant. Right. And we need more of it. Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you. And the last thing I'll say too is I think it's not because some people there's clean comedy competitions all the time, and that's just for the sake normally for them to be like I can do a clean comedy set because it's like safe for kids or it's safe for anyone. Right. I think for me it's the purpose of God created humor to honor Him with it, and it I don't know how to say it. It's His. And so I think that, like, for me, it's not about being clean because I think that people who do that are just so... It's not about that. Right. It's about my personal conviction. So I don't look at other comedians who aren't clean and go, ugh, who the heck do they think they are? Right. I'm not doing that. But for me, it's a personal conviction to just know that, like, I know that, like, this storytelling can happen and it be in a clean way.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's about, pain is temporary, internet's forever. And so
it is. I told my people I crap my pants. It's never going to go away. People are like, yeah, it's just not that story. It's fine.
Well, and so what happens is, though, you do want to, part of having a clean set is you like, whatever I say potentially is on a loop for someone. Correct. For a long time.
For a long time.
And so that's why I will laugh at things that I will not say.
Right. It's like, I'm glad they said it.
I mean,
glad she told everybody she crapped her pants because if I did, I'd just cry by myself.
Exactly. Yeah. And so it's like, no, because now that's recorded as forever. Yeah, I don't really need that to be part of my posterity. No. So,
but thank you so much. This was fun for me too.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Gosh.